We live in a world of facts, data, and logic. We pride ourselves on being rational, scientific beings, yet, beneath all of this, a quiet sense of emptiness lingers. We feel lost, as if life has somehow become hollow. Success, achievements, material comfort, they provide temporary satisfaction, but not lasting meaning. Deep down, many of us feel that something essential is missing. Carl Jung believed that what we are missing is our personal connection to the unconscious, and that the unconscious speaks to us in a language that is older than words, the language of dreams, symbols, and myths. Jung understood that humans have always lived by stories. Long before we had science, before we had reason, we had myth. Myths are not just old fairy tales or cultural relics. They are maps of meaning, deeply encoded messages that reveal truths about the human condition. Jung believed that each of us needs to find our own personal myth, a story that gives meaning to our suffering, a narrative that connects us to something greater than ourselves. Without this, we risk drifting through life, lost in a sea of facts, but starving for meaning. Jung saw the unconscious as a vast, hidden realm filled with archetypes, primordial images that shape human experience. The unconscious doesn't communicate in linear, rational ways. It doesn't send you an email saying, "Hey, you need to deal with your childhood trauma." Instead, it speaks in dreams, in symbols, in synchronicities, moments that feel too meaningful to be coincidence. A dream about being chased might not literally be about running away. It could symbolize an inner conflict you're avoiding. Seeing the same animal repeatedly in your waking life might be your unconscious drawing your attention to something symbolic. For Jung, these were not random events. They were messages. He famously said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That is why listening to these messages matters. Ignoring them means living unconsciously, driven by forces we don't understand. But by learning to decode these messages, we gain access to a deeper intelligence that can guide our lives. Freud once called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, and Jung agreed, but he expanded the concept. While Freud saw dreams mostly as expressions of repressed desires, Jung believed they were far more. They were direct communications from the psyche, trying to restore balance to our conscious life. If you dream of drowning, perhaps your waking life is too rigid, too rational, and your unconscious is pushing you toward emotion, towards surrender. If you dream of flying, maybe your soul is longing for freedom beyond the limitations you have imposed on yourself. Jung didn't want people to look up dream dictionaries. Instead, he taught that symbols are personal. A snake might mean fear to one person, transformation to another, wisdom to someone else. The key is to explore what the symbol means to you, in your life, in your story. Dreams often show us what we don't want to see. They reveal our shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject or deny. A frightening figure in a dream might actually be a disowned part of yourself, demanding to be acknowledged. Jung believed that by engaging with these figures, even the terrifying ones, we could reclaim lost pieces of our psyche. For Jung, symbols weren't just personal, they were also universal. Archetypes, the hero, the shadow, the wise old man, the great mother, appear across cultures, religions, and eras. Myths are humanity's way of making sense of these archetypes, giving form to our deepest psychological truths. When you read about Hercules slaying monsters, or Buddha leaving his palace in search of enlightenment, you are encountering archetypal patterns of growth, struggle, and transformation. Jung believed that these stories endure because they mirror the deep structures of the human psyche. Even if you've never heard the myth, your unconscious knows it. It resonates. Finding your personal myth doesn't mean you literally become a hero in armor. It means discovering which story reflects your inner journey. Are you being called to face a dragon, a fear, an addiction, a truth you've avoided? Are you being asked to descend into the underworld, a time of loss, grief, or confusion, in order to emerge transformed? Jung knew that life involves suffering, but he didn't see suffering as meaningless cruelty. He saw it as an invitation. Pain breaks the shell of the ego. It forces us to confront parts of ourselves we've ignored. Without suffering, there is no transformation. When suffering is meaningful, we can endure anything. Jung wrote, "But meaningless suffering, pain without purpose, crushes hatartam." Our task is to find the meaning in our suffering, to see how it fits into our greater story. The loss of a loved one, the collapse of a career, a period of deep depression, these can feel like random tragedies. But often they are the very events that push us onto a path we never would have chosen, yet deeply needed. This is what myth teaches us, that death and rebirth, loss and renewal, are not separate events, but part of one cycle. Start with your dreams. Keep a dream journal. Write them down the moment you wake up. Don't try to analyze too quickly. Instead, sit with the images. Ask, what emotions do these evoke in me? What situations in my life feel similar? Pay attention to synchronicities. These are meaningful coincidences that seem too perfect to be chance. Maybe you think about an old friend and they call you the next day. Maybe a certain animal keeps appearing in your life. Instead of dismissing it, wonder, what could this be telling me? Read myths. See which stories resonate with you. Are you drawn to tales of warriors, healers, wanderers, rebels? These attractions are clues to your own archetypal patterns. Jung believed that the greatest tragedy is to live a life that is not truly yours. Many people follow scripts handed down by family, culture, or society. They achieve success but feel empty because they are not living their own myth. Your myth might not be glamorous. It might mean leaving a secure job to pursue an uncertain passion. It might mean facing your deepest wounds instead of hiding from them. But when you live in alignment with your myth, even suffering becomes meaningful. To live your myth is to see your life as a story worth telling. It is to understand that your struggles are chapters, not endpoints. It is to realize that your soul has been speaking to you all along, in dreams, in symbols, in the quiet synchronicities of everyday life. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious is not an enemy to be feared, but a guide to be listened to. Dreams, symbols, and myths are not outdated superstitions. They are the language of the soul, messages from the deepest parts of who we are. When you begin to listen, life becomes richer, deeper, more meaningful. You realize that even your pain is part of a greater pattern. You are not just a random collection of experiences. You are a story, and the storyteller is your own soul. The question Jung leaves us with is simple yet profound. Are you listening? Because until you do, the unconscious will keep speaking in symbols, in dreams, in strange coincidences. It will keep calling you back to the story you were meant to live. So tonight, when you close your eyes, pay attention to what appears. Your soul is always speaking. The only question is, will you hear it?